So, there was a little bit of a delay. We didn't get to see the early game, but as you can tell from the 0-0 scoreboard, nothing exciting happened. So, we are 2 minutes into the game. Lanes are going pretty normally. Ryan, what are your thoughts about this game?
I think that the Waffles are easily going to win, but besides that, I think it's Waffles pretty much just want to function the game exactly how they played their team comp last game. They would just like to maybe have less of a advantage going forward into that mid game, or disadvantage going forward into that mid lane. But Eagles, for how many of the same champions they have, swapping out to this Ezreal and Orianna instead of the Syndra Seraphine changes their comp a lot and gives them a lot more, team fight threat that they were kind of lacking in the last game. So should be a little bit easier for them to find engages than to pull off team fights in the mid game here instead of last game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was crazy how for the first 2 minutes Waffles had won the last game, if no one else noticed that. But in the first 3 minutes, we don't quite see another Mundo death, but it is not looking good for Mundo up in that matchup. Not able to find the success in the early game of either game. Gonna really be scratching his head on that one when he looks at the replays later.
Oh, and Hecarim's actually pathing up here. They might be looking to dive on this wave. It'll be a bit risky, and I don't think they're going to quite be in time to do that. But Hecarim is playing super aggressive. They should know he's there now as that blast, or the vision plant was popped. So he's just going to pop a ward and then wait for Scuttle Crab to spawn. I thought they might be trying to go a bit hypey there, diving the Mundo immediately after he TP's back.
Yeah, but they could be waiting. Sylas has gotten a couple trades, one trade onto Mundo, and now the wave has bounced away from his turret. He could be looking for another to get him into that diveable range. Oh, but Hecarim goes mid lane. 2 fights breaking out simultaneously as a fight breaks out in the bot lane. Not an extended fight in either side, though, but Fiddlesticks waiting for the Hecarim, catches him out, hits him with the silence, getting a little bit of damage down. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough to chase him, but with the mid laners following up, this could turn into an all-out brawl. Fiddlesticks trying to get more damage down as Nasashi roams up and tries to turn this into a 3v2. The entire bot lane from Eagles is rotating to it, but Visionary's almost dead. His first blood goes over to Victor. But now the bot lane is caught out in a terrible situation as all the members of the Waffles have collapsed. Habibster is very low on hit points and he falls to stink as Aphelios picks up a first kill of the game. Of this game for him. Oh, man. When you have to speak so many words, you run out of oxygen, and I swear your brain goes crazy places.
Holy cow, it's kind of the exact opposite of what happened in the last game where the top lane got a huge lead to start off the game. Now this bot line is in a great spot. The Aphelios getting that kill, Victor also picking up the other kill as well, but I'm not sure what the Eagles thought was going on there in that river there, but there was push coming from the Waffles. They had the rotation coming in first, and I think Hecarim just needed to notice that and leave. But
Speaking of coming in first, Mundo dies before Fiddlesticks can even make it to the top lane. Sylas steals the ultimate and tries to get a lot of damage down. Kingslayer comes up and he gets all the damage he needs from the Conqueror as 2 people fall. Ganker, Spanker, Sylas!
God damn, this Sylas is just he kind of took it personally when we said he hadn't really done anything the first 5 minutes unlike last game, so just decided he needs to get a double kill real quick off that gank. Hitting level 6 off of the kill, off of killing Mundo, and just immediately takes the Fiddlesticks ult and just ults back on him in his face. And kind of hard to out-heal that damage when you're 2 levels down as a jungler.
Yeah, and the Eagles capitalizing on the opportunity. They know that Fiddlesticks is dead, and so they immediately start up the dragon.
Yeah, and they should just get this one for free as you see a little bit of trading going on in mid lane is actually, because of those early kills, Victor actually has his first augment already at 6 minutes. And that is terrible news for this Orianna, who still hasn't found the time to back yet.
Is that low on mana on the Orianna, you're really not in a good situation, are you?
Should be able to clear this wave and then just TP back, but I don't even know if he has the money for Lost Chapter. I think it's going to be close, but I'm not quite sure the numbers he needs there, but with the Victor already having the perma wave push, it's going to be really hard to continue laning here with any sort of priority. It might just be relegated to catching waves under turret for the remainder of the laning phase. And once again, just like in game 1, there's a horrible wave state in top lane as we're going for another fight.
Oh, the fight breaks out in the top lane. Mundo pops the ultimate, trying to survive, but he's a level down. Silas copies his ultimate and gets a lot of damage onto him without taking too much in return. A very good fight, but Mundo does make it away, only burning his flash.
All right, and we'll see if Rhino learns from what happened in game 1, where he just this exact same position happened and he hard shoved the wave. But now we'll see if he actually just freezes this wave here to deny the CS from Mundo as we get another engage in top bot lane.
Exhaust onto the Aphelios as they try to take the 2v1, but it's not enough damage. Aphelios has the combat guns. He almost kills Prometheus. He turns around onto the Karma. He's taking so much, but he doesn't find either kill. Doesn't get killed himself. Just going to shove that wave in and back off.
Yeah, it's not a good look when you trade 1 summoner for 3 summoners in a 2v1 situation. But the Aphelios just said, you can't actually kill me, and just turned it straight back on them. And I'm not sure if they were scared of not sure how close Sashi was to turning that around. But I think if they just commit, you know, they would just be able to kill him there. But instead, didn't quite go for it. It's now Fiddlesticks finds the Orianna.
He finds the Orianna. He fears her. He silences her. She hasn't had a chance to do anything. She finally gets to flash away, but Rakan burns his own flash and chases her down.
Portal combat once again as now Mundo is in trouble. One more.
Oh, but he's not going to quite find a damage. Not looking for the tower dive again. Decides, fine, you can keep those 100 hit points. I didn't want you to die anyway, as he thinks, maybe you'll just have to get dove here and lose this turret. Goes for the stun and decides to kill him after all.
Oh, man. Just barely hit the tip of those chains, pulling him in, and just with how low Mundo is, an easy kill. Fiddlesticks was moving up to, you know, protect against the dive, but just a little bit too far forward from the Mundo, and Fiddlesticks wasn't there in time to at least take a trade kill back. So Silas now 3-0 at almost 9 minutes into this game. Looks like he's going to do the same Leandry's build again, as he has another Amp Tome off of that Lost Chapter.
But I don't think any of us disagreed with his Leandries. I think the Leandries is a pretty good purchase for him the last game. I think where a lot of the caster and production crew were confused by his build was the choice to continue into tank. So we'll see if he does the same thing this game, considering that it might be more appropriate to do so, or if he switches it up and tries something different.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with this game, I think it would be completely reasonable for him to build this like more tanky Silas that he was going in previous games, because you have a lot more consistent damage from your team. And the Victor isn't as much of a consistent damage threat as the Cassia was. Oh. So if you can survive the burst, he's not going to continue damaging you after that point. As you can see, just one rotation of spells from Silas. Mundo's down to half HP, and one more chain lands, and he might just go down. Am I going to contest here for Herald? His Visionary is really low.
Fiddlesticks pops his ultimate and his item, manages to avoid no damage at all there, just the damage from the Herald, as Silas turns around, looks to get his own damage off, gets stunned up, takes the Fiddlesticks ultimate, looking for the space to use it, but Rakan gonna hit him with the CC. He can't buy any space for himself, he's almost out of hit points, but he manages to find the kill. Rakan's death will buy him the space that he needs as he walks away from the fight. Mundo, trying to get away from their own front line, as Hecarim hunts down and kills Fiddlesticks in the back line. Victor will fall to Orianna as Mundo tries to escape with his life. 3 members of the Eagles looking to see if they can feed their young today. Won't be able to find up the last baby chick that is Mundo, but man, are they eating good tonight.
Man, there's just a full dinner of waffles going on at the Eagles' house today, as just barely not enough damage to take down Rhino there and at least get it some sort of trade kills back. You can see the idea of how long Frozen actually sat on the Victor ult, making sure that Rhino never had a chance to actually charge that Fiddlesticks ult once the Rakan CC had missed, because he can just silence the cast with his own ult, but the chain CC just barely wasn't enough, and now he's going back in for more.
The Fiddlesticks ult comes out, and Mundo disappears. You know, you never think about your positioning against Fiddlesticks when the Fiddle's on your team, but you have to remember with the Silas that those walls aren't safe for you either when he steals the ultimate.
Man, that's a series of unfortunate events going on, starting with the missed Fiddlesticks ult into the stopwatch, and now African Rhino is actually the one that picks up the Herald, so I guess they're going to be dropping that top lane again, but at least Waffles looking to maybe trade back on this dragon to slow down any sort of dragon stacking that Eagles might have been looking for. But Eagles are in the area, they might try to contest, but it looks like they'll be a little bit too late by the time they show up.
Yeah, Waffles just thinking, we have the position here. We're in place first. Let's just go ahead and do it. And Eagles, probably not really expecting Waffles to take the Drake. They're thinking, okay, we'll reset. The Drake's there. We're fine. It's dark at the moment, but Waffles are so far behind. Why would they be crazy enough to do the Drake? And then they see that, oh, Waffles did the Drake. Crap.
And evening that Drake count up is just so important, just in terms of trying to give Victor and Aphelios time to scale. I mean, Victor is going to be able to wave clear forever, and without the threat of Soul, it's going to be really hard to actually force the Waffles to fight early if they don't want to. However, we've seen Waffles, try and force fights before you would normally consider them ready to in the previous games, so that might not matter too much, but it is an advantage Waffles can rely on if they decide to.
Most definitely.
As take a brief stroll around the game here. It's still that 1,500 gold lead at 12.5 minutes in. Pretty even the rest of the map, but actually
silence, fear into silence, into charm, into flash, into death. Ezreal cannot do much in that one, as Fiddlesticks was just waiting in the bush.
All right, and Mundo's looks like he's about to get dove here. He still has his passive, so can avoid one of those CCs, but Hecarim actually decides to call it off. They're not looking for this dive yet, so well, it looks to be an unpunished cross-map play here, as long as Mundo doesn't, go too crazy here. But you look at those level leads, and it's 11 already on the size.
Orianna can't walk up here. Orianna knows it's dangerous to check this side, throws the max range ball. Good play from her, just knowing where she can and can't walk up and checking at max range what she can. But, speaking of ranges, Mundo might be put out to pasture as he almost falls, but the tower damage is ramping up, and he finds the life he needs. Silas can't get away from the turret shot, and Mundo trades one in return. The shutdown is huge. That is definitely not worth it from the Eagles.
That heal that Mundo got off of, I think it's his W, the little blue circle that gives him the Tom Kinch Gray health. Just a 30% increase, and now Fiddlesticks is here, and Hecarim's gonna have to run away, and that was so close. If Silas had died half a second earlier, another turret shot would have gone onto the Hecarim and traded back a double kill for it. So very tight on that dive, barely managing to execute it, but getting a lot of gold over to that Mundo is going to be really helpful for him to try and stabilize any sort of frontline hopes they have in this game.
Yeah, going to be very helpful for him, notably because it allows him to begin purchasing, the health and MR that he missed out on by going Bramble Vest early. He was thinking that the problem in his lane was that Silas was healing a lot and trading with him, so he buys the Bramble Vest, but that's a lot of stats going to armor that isn't really that useful at stopping Silas's damage, and when he's just killing you, then it doesn't matter how much he's healing. You're dead.
Yes. The Herald did get dropped in top lane. We're going to break that tower a little bit later than it was last game, but now Fiddlesticks might be in a bit of trouble, but they both just decide to back off instead. And it's kind of back to the state that we had it in the first game, where it's going to be on Fiddlesticks to try and find some plays, and it's going to be on this Aphelios to try and provide some consistent damage to carry through these fights, as the second Herald charge is going to land. And we'll see if Rhino can leverage his lead a little bit better than he did in the first game, to kind of not give the Waffles time to scale and get back into this game. As there's a pretty big disadvantage in this bot lane for the Eagles. Down 35 CS in this matchup, and the kill over to Aphelios. So we'll see if he can try and get himself in a position of power to carry this game. As Fiddlesticks might be looking for something, but multiple members are walking towards him. Maybe nothing happens instead.
Oh, Fiddlesticks pops the ultimate, burns the flash, gets the fear, all the damage comes out, the silence onto Orianna, and there's just nothing she can do. Got served a counterplay supreme.
And the fear into silence, into being dead, no chance to flash away. Is finally getting another kill over, but now Frozen's way too far forward. The Silas chain lands.
The Silas chains land, he flashes away, but Frozen might have chased it a little too far. The shields come through, and he's almost kept alive, but it won't be quite enough as Silas comes through with the kill. Nasashi dies to the Ezreal ultimate. Very important there for Ezreal to pick up that kill, as Silas gets a double for himself and propels further ahead in this game. Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what you want to see when your top laner gets this fed. It doesn't really matter if Mundo is going to get a free, wave and a half of farm here to hit that turret a little bit more. You just get yourself on the map, trade this turret back, but you also trade the kills, you trade the map pressure, you're going to get this next dragon as well. And with you being the power point, you don't want to be stuck in a lane with the weakest person on the enemy team when you're the strongest and just kind of waste that advantage. So well done and good adaptation from the Eagles to move Rhino into a better position, but looks like they might be a bit cautious about getting this dragon, but I don't think anyone's going to get in range to stop this.
They pulled the dragon out, and now Fiddlesticks isn't in range. It almost looks like a steal, but oh my! Hecarim comes up with it. Hecarim looks for the engages. Silas comes in with the Fiddlesticks ultimate. He gets silenced and he gets killed. Hecarim doesn't have enough health to survive all of Waffles' damage. Waffle comes up with another kill into him. Fiddlesticks will fall, but the entire back line and front line, excepting Orianna on the side of the Eagles, is dead.
Just once again, the Eagles playing way too aggro after securing the objective. As we're actually going to a BM replay of which failing his alt stopwatch, and now they're going in for the dive on this Orianna.
Oh, the charm into the knockup. Orianna has a little bit of time to react. She gets the ultimate off, gets the flash off, kills Recon. The tower kills Victor from the burn. Oh my, a double kill coming out from the Orianna. She picks up the wave as well. Mundo decides that he wants to tank the turret, but now he's taking the turret. Oh man.
Just not quite enough damage. Orianna died and then was never in that last fight, so still had that ultimate up, and with Recon tanking that turret, it's always a one-way trip. I'm just not sure how Victor grabbed aggro afterwards. It looked like Orianna was completely out. Maybe he's running... Oh, it's probably the Leandri's burn that pulled aggro on him, and he just didn't recognize that he had turret aggro until it was too late. So, well played by Orianna to get those kills underneath her own turret in that 3v1.
You know, and a lot of times when you're playing Orianna, those are the kills you end up with. People view you as a very squishy damage, and they just forget that when you get Shockwave CC, that's 2 turret shots you're taking where you can't really do too much, and that's quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, it's you know, we just got to be a bit careful from the Waffles on those type of plays, making sure we're tracking cooldowns between the Silas ult, if he has, you know, a big engage ult like the Fiddlesticks or between the Shockwave on Orianna. Those are kind of your 2 big things you have to keep track of, and just weren't quite able to keep track of both of them. But now Eagles surprisingly only have a 1,000 gold lead, which is a bit surprising based off what's been going on this game. But I guess Aphelios is just probably pretty far ahead of this Ezreal, which is making up a lot of the gold difference, as the rest of the map seems, you know, pretty even. So we'll see if he is able to carry with, you know, we kind of needed this Mundo just to be a front line in front of him. Give him a couple seconds and he should be able to shred pretty much everyone once he gets the items. And he is making an adaptation from last game, going with the Last Whisper second item instead of that Collector. So it should deal a bit more damage to the more frontline focused build on this that's coming out of this top side.
You know, have the AD carry changes, were those included in 13.1b?
No, that will be next patch.
Okay. So a lot of AD carries probably still feel forced into getting Infinity Edge as a 3rd item rather than potentially as a 2nd, I'm assuming.
Yeah, as we might get into the fight here, as Rhino's just dead.
Oh, and yeah, Silas is forced into the Death Realm, and not the Mordekaiser one, the one that you don't come back from.
And that is one thing that that's happened twice so far, where Silas has jumped way too far forward and been out of position where his team can't help him. And even if you are tanky, if you just get CC'd between this Rakan and Fiddlesticks and never actually press that Kingslayer, that's so much of your tankiness from the Silas is coming from a Kingslayer on some, fully stacked Conqueror healing for a ton of HP. So that happens not great. As
Victor pops the ultimate, tries to chase down Orianna, but she's too far away, won't be able to find an actual kill, just going to force her out of the side lane.
I just realized there's a 2-level lead for this Orianna over this Victor. And now opening up a 20 CS lead as well. Things are really not going too well for this mid lane here. As top laners trade flashes. As I think Coinflip
Rhino's
should be able to
looking
get
for the kill. Visionary coming in with Ghost from a distance with the ultimate, burns the passive from Mundo. Mundo tries to stay alive. Silas misses the chains, can't get the crowd control onto him. Hecarim pushes him back in to allow Silas to get some of that damage off, and now that the damage is there, Mundo is taking a lot, and he's not able to survive much longer.
Oh, man. Just, one of those, again, where Mundo's just pushed up too far forward, and because the Hecarim was there with that Ghost and the ult to gap close, we're able to find it. But now Hecarim is in a little bad spot.
He has no cooldowns. He gets silenced. He gets stunned. After the fear, he doesn't have too many hit points left. He pops the honey fruit, but isn't going to be able to survive. Silas steals the Fiddlesticks ultimate, looking to just get out now, but Victor's looking for the chase down. Not quite. Okay, gonna let him get away.
Victor did use his flash there to secure that, so he's going to be a very vulnerable target for these next 5 minutes without any sort of escape tool, no stopwatch either. So we'll see if Eagles can punish that.
And I like what the Waffles are doing here. They saw the flash, they burned it on to get the jungler dead, and now they know Dragon's up. So they're getting the position and they're trying to fight over it.
Yeah, with Victor just trying to play a little bit of a bouncer duty here. Khabibster has got to be careful. There's one more laser and he could go down, and this should just be 2 dragons apiece now going over to each team. And a completely dead even game. 100 gold separates these teams in. Waffles are kind of in exactly the spot they want to be in. Just an even game going into mid game where they can try and scale up on their carries who both now have 2 items.
Yeah, Waffles, again, they had a position of power in game 1 like this, where we're like, they aren't really that far behind and they're starting to win team fights, but we haven't seen them get a pop-off Fiddlesticks ultimate into a team fight victory this game, and they're in a better position. If they get that this game, it might just be game over.
Definitely could be, especially, Mundo's working towards his second item now. He's still going to be a decent tank as long as he's with his team. Obviously, he's just going to get run down and killed in sidelines. He doesn't have any sort of damage to threaten Silas, but the rest of his team does. So as long as he can be with the team and just be that front line they need, he should still be relatively tanky and be able to provide the front line that Aphelios needs to actually shred through people. As well as, I believe in the Sashi last game, he had the never mind if we're going
But Habibster getting caught out, putting vision down, very low on hit points, flashes over the wall. The Protobelt isn't able to go over walls, and he will find himself a getaway with just under 100 hit points remaining.
Wow, very close there by Habibster, having to burn both summoners as they're just going to start Baron straight up here. They know Habibster's in base and there's no vision. Frozen's just playing super aggro to keep them out of the pit, and he's just going to be the bait. I think Hecarim's going to go for him instead of the Baron, and they're going to get it for free.
Both ultimates are popped on the mid laner. Hecarim goes to chase down the Victor and will kill him, but Waffles got the Baron.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you'll take that. I don't think Frozen had to play that aggressively. I don't think Waffles or Eagles had any idea that was going on. He probably could have just backed off and not traded the kill back, but either way, you'll take 1 kill for a Baron, as that's going to do a lot to kind of stop any sort of pressure that the Eagles are going to have for the next couple minutes. As what I was going to say before we kind of jumped into that was I think the Sashi's made a pretty good adaptation here. Last game he had the I believe he had the Shrelias, but this game changing to the Radiant Virtue just to give that extra healing to his backline to stop this minimal damage that the Eagles actually have in terms of their divers. So it could be a pretty big deal in terms of just giving them that extra health they need to survive. And Aphelios just getting a couple extra seconds could change from you acing the team to you getting ace. So we'll have to see if that plays out well for them.
He's a champion with a lot of damage, so, buying the time just increases the damage he gets out across the course of the team fight by an absurd amount. So, very important for him to survive that long. I'd like to see Orianna and what she's going to do with her ultimate. She's played well this game, right? She has a level lead on Victor, a good creep lead, a good amount of gold on her team. We see that she's the one team member of the Eagles that has a bounty. But we haven't seen her use her ultimate in a team fight yet to, amazing effect, like we can with the Hecarim dive. Speaking of amazing effects, though, there's a lot of healing going on in this bot lane as Mundo and Silas both try to see who can out-heal the other one. Wet noodles are slapping back and forth, but the spaghetti sticking to the wall seems to be Mundo right now. Silas seems to get an advantage as he bursts down another rotation of health, but Mundo continues to heal. He's just trying to get any more healing, but his ultimate has ran off, but Silas's damage has not ran out, and the spaghetti sticking to the wall at the end is the wet noodle of Silas.
Yeah, and I think you saw how, even that was going when both people just had that Mundo ult running, but once that fell off, Silas just knows there's no threat left for the Mundo, and he can just very slowly take him out over time. Sure, it will take him, that 20 seconds or whatever to kill him, but without the Mundo trying to run away, once the healing is gone, there's really nothing Mundo's going to do to threaten him. And that's kind of one of those plays you would like to see avoided from Mundo. Just pop the ult and just start walking away. With how long it's going to take Silas to kill you by himself, you easily just get back to base without dying there. But another kill over to Silas as he immediately started walking up to top lane to ward off any sort of pressure the Waffles might have been looking for. But once again, we approach this dragon 30 seconds until it spawns. Dead even game, 2 dragons apiece, both sides. Whoever gets this is going to be on soul point and hopefully can try and use that leverage to force a bad decision from the enemy team, as Eagles have gotten the setup first. And we'll have to see if Nasashi can find room to get some vision in here. But now, Habib is backing very late.
Oh, Karma backs off late. Not what you want to see. Only 4 members, but she does have the Hex Gates. Will be very quick in trying to get back. It won't take her that long.
Yeah, she was trying to just reset her wards after she placed all the wards and then was trying to reset to go get him back. And it looks like nothing's going to happen, and she's already back here.
Just on the wrong side of the wall.
Loop around to get back with her team, and shouldn't be any issues as Rhino actually steals the Fiddlesticks ult. But you see this whole time, Ezreal's just pushing mid lane. They know Waffles don't have very good hard engage unless they walk into it. So they just send Ezreal to go push, but now Nasashi's on the flank and Oriana's might be in trouble.
Nasashi picks up the Oriana. Oriana gets crowd control of the silence. She buys time with her Zhonya's. Hecarim gets in and tries to buy the space she needs. She flashes out, gets an ultimate off and gets the Victor, but Hecarim will fall. They turn onto the Silas and start getting a lot of damage on him. Silas flashes away, but the burn comes through. It is not quite enough burn to kill him. Almost beat the flash cleaver from Mundo, but it's not quite enough to get him out in this game of dodgeball as he slithers back to his side of the field and will recall to his base.
Man, and I really like the setup from the Eagles there, knowing that there wasn't a lot of reliable hard engage, but they just didn't account for the fact that Nasashi could go over the wall with that recon and find that flank illegal. They had no wards on their side of the map, so as soon as Nasashi walked up there, they had no idea where he was, and unfortunately, they just looped kind of too far around the backside of the dragon, maybe just saying, let's just run it down mid and give them this dragon instead. But with Oriana getting caught, it just ruined any plan they might have had. And with Ezreal not being able to be in that fight and Oriana dying immediately, there's really no chance for the Eagles to try and turn anything back there.
Yeah, well, important correction. I don't believe Oriana died. I believe she got away from the fight with a very low amount of hit points. Producer can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Same thing, okay?
Yeah, it's but like very true. She was ineffective in the fight. She got no other damage out besides that ultimate, and then she retreated.
Yeah, it's like when the first game, when Aphelios flashed over the wall and ran for his life. He was effectively dead. They just didn't hand over the 300 gold as well.
A metaphorical death.
And you can see this Aphelios now has 3 items completed, was able to complete his Infinity Edge. Victor also completed the Death Cap. So these carries are very scary if they have time to get their damage off. So Eagles are going to have to find the proper engage to one-shot at least one, if not both of them, with this maybe pairing up with this Hecarim and Oriana. This is kind of what they're looking for here.
Yeah, you see both carries at this point in the game on the side of the Waffles are, the carries in the game with the most amount of money. Silas might be on top of them and have more money, but he's a tank. Unless he's catching you out 1v1 isolated, we don't care about him as much in the team fight because we have our whole team here to beat him down. It's the fact that the Victor and the Aphelios are the top 2. They're doing the most DPS, so they hurt, and they get through the front line quicker than the Eagles can, so, they lose. But we will see if the Eagles are able to get, that engage. They do have the wombo, they do have the combo, but Waffles have one of their own, and we haven't seen either team use them this game. So it might be, whoever pulls the trigger first.
Yeah, so with Baron is up now. We'll see if either team wants to try and make a play for it. The ping's coming out on the Oriana recall, but she's on a ping, so I think maybe they're just guessing someone is there and take some resets of their own. No one's looking to force Baron just yet, especially with the hex gates, like you mentioned earlier for Karma. It does allow getting back onto that map fairly quickly if you are spotted on a recall. So nothing too crazy going on. I probably don't expect anything to happen until this next dragon, as the Eagles are going to be a bit more careful about keeping vision on this Baron and not letting it get snuck from them again. So
looks like trading vision back and forth, not necessarily fighting for it. We see one team fill the river and then leave, and then another do the same.
Yeah. Important to note, Orianna has hit 16, so does have that rank 3 shockwave. Can do a lot of damage if she actually finds it, as now they're looking for a bit of a trap
Silas
here.
Going in for the damage. Ezreal comes out and Silas keeps going forward onto the Rakan. He's getting so much damage onto Rakan, but he's so far in. Nobody can back him up. He tries to back out, but at this point, his team is chasing other people and he gets shut down by Mundo. Oh my gosh, the Eagles are backing away, knowing that they don't have their most fed member and they don't have their front line, and the Waffles are falling over and trying to pounce on these flightless birds right now. Def Coin Flip falls forward and tries to go, but Rakan isn't able to get any.
Fiddlesticks!
Fiddlesticks comes in with a backline. He gets the engage they were looking for. They pull the trigger, and almost all of the members are dead. All of them are dead now. That's it. That's game. They have the wave. They go towards the middle lane, and they are running it straight down for victory.
And you called it earlier in the game. You said we hadn't seen a good Fiddlesticks ult, but maybe if he finds one, the game is over. And that's exactly what happened there. Just over-forcing from the Silas onto the Rakan. I have no idea why, but easy turnaround for that Fiddlesticks there coming out of Fog of War. And a pick up the Game 2 victory for the Waffles.
Yeah, you know, sometimes the Rakan just makes you too mad and you gotta go deep and he gets you. It'd be that way, I understand.
He got charmed before Rakan popped the charm, and it's not normally something you want to see in League of Legends.
Mind Control is a powerful summoner spell, and it spells disaster for the Eagles in Game 2, but it spells victory for Ryan because we'll get a Game 3.
Let's go. Blind pick Game 3. I missed it last week, and I'm finally back. I'm back this week, and I'm so happy I get to cast this blind pick here. All right, with that, I think we're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we come back, we will have picks. Actually, we'll probably skip picks and bans this week, and we'll get into Game 3 when we come back. And we are back here to try and take a little bit of a sneak peek at this blind pick draft that came out here. And, Void, what's your initial impressions looking at this comp?
Bot lane is trying some stuff. The traditional bot lane didn't work out, so we're back to some spaghetti here. Prometheus is playing the brand. I know Ducky is going to freak out about that because Prometheus is actually a relatively solid brand player. Fiddlesticks for Visionary, maybe hoping for the Fiddlesticks. Mirror Match, not getting that. Rhino is getting his pick of the litter, taking the Aatrox. That, I think, is a really, really good choice for him for the type of brawl-type fights they've been taking. But the team fight aspect that I think the Waffles are bringing to this is pretty interesting. Sticking with the Aphelios, taking the Seraphine, which I think is actually huge value for their team that they have now with the Maokai and Nivea. They just have so much crowd control, CC, wave clear. They can pretty much do whatever they want on chokes, and there's really nothing that... my gosh, I just forgot the other name of the team.
Eagles?
The Eagles can do to get into those choke points the moment that they throw it down, other than having maybe a flank from the Fiddlesticks to get the Anivia R off the wall or off the ground. But what do you think, Unicorn? What are you seeing here? What are your initial impressions?
All right, so I think it might be a little difficult for Anivia to contribute damage-wise in a lot of these fights. There's a lot of just incidental CC that's going to cancel the ult, just the Aatrox, Qs, obviously Fiddlesticks ult, Fiddlesticks fear, Fiddlesticks silence, Sentra stun, Brand stun. There's a lot of just incidental CC that even if they're not aiming for it, could just block it or stop the Anivia ult. Also, they have a lot of ways to deal damage either outside of the range of the Navy ult, or in Fiddlestick's case, can immediately close the gap to like bypass the whole thing, which would give Aatrox room to fight. But if Fiddlesticks can't find the ult, which is kind of a reverse of what was happening in previous games, with the Waffles relying on Fiddlesticks. If Fiddlesticks now on the Eagles can't find the engage, it could be very difficult for them to actually fight between the Seraphine, Maokai, and Anivia just destroying any sort of choke. You just can't walk through it anymore as Aatrox. So I think we're still swapping teams, but still looking really hard at this Fiddlesticks and seeing what he can do in these fights.
I think that's a pretty good, accurate analysis of that as well. I think that we might have a bit of a slower game this time. Maybe not from top because Rhino is just fighting coin flip the entire game, but we'll see how it goes. I'm curious to see how the jungle matchup goes, since a lot of the impact and a lot of the early game came off of Visionary making plays with the Hecarim, and you've got a lot safer of a mid lane, seemingly with Fiddlesticks kind of having to scale into that role. So I'm curious to see how the bot lane goes as well, because it's definitely a weird pick, but they also have a lot of poke and a lot of damage. So I'm excited to get into Game 3. We've got our blind pick Game 3 broadcast, so super excited for this final game.
All right, so Ducky, I need to bring you in here. As a brand connoisseur yourself, how do you feel about this brand bot lane pairing with Senna playing in the bot lane?
I mean, you've got really good harass, and you can follow up pretty hard on any roots that Senna drops out. I mean, if you're in position when she gets a root, then, you've got a pretty free stun. If you've got a pretty free stun, then you've got a pretty free W. And even if you're not in position to get the stun, you can get the W off, and that does quite a bit of damage. The Pillar of Fire, especially if they're already on fire, does an absurd amount of damage, even in the early game on Brand. So I think they'll have a pretty good time in this bot lane, even against Aphelios Seraphine. I think it's probably almost stacked in favor of the Brand, depending on how well he can play it, just because it's very easy to poke with Brand and with Senna. And unless Aphelios and Seraphine play it really well, I don't see them having as easy of a time poking. Their poke relies, at least in Seraphine's case, much more on skill shots than Brand's and Senna's, so I would think that Prometheus and Habibster can come out on top of this at about a 60-40 rate.
All right, well, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that down there, as it's kind of a big contrast to how the Eagles played their bot lane matchups previously, kind of just being like the super passive, we're not going to do anything, you do whatever you want style lanes. So maybe this will give them a bit of change of a pace where they can actually get some advantages in that lane. And we'll definitely have to focus on this top lane. This Aatrox had been banned all the games. Deathcoin Flip, I just decided he didn't play the Mordekaiser in the other games, deciding maybe he wanted this into a better idea of what they were playing or what they thought Rhino was going to play, because of the no ban situation. And, so far, already full wave of CS. I think the game's already over. Just call it for Waffles.
Yeah, that 100 gold lead unspent sitting in the inventory makes a massive impact on your damage, believe it or not.
Oh, man, the gold lead's gone. Oh, now it's in favor of the Eagles. It's gone again. All right, maybe we called the game a little bit prematurely.
Only slightly. I definitely think one of these teams are going to win.
I don't know. We could be in for an infinite tie situation. But we'll have to see. As Maokai and Fiddlesticks both looking for early ganks here, and we'll see if either one gets the playoff.
Misses the silence, but gets the fear. Definitely a point-and-click ability. Easy to hit. The flash comes out, and I don't think Mordekaiser will be going down.
And as we said, that we also got the flash out of Sindra from the Maokai, who traded flash for flash there, so both junglers getting a successful gank off here. As you can see, it's not going as bad in that top lane. I think the Aatrox has a lot less of that early trading power, and Mordekaiser has a lot more than Mundo, but now we're going back into mid lane.
Speaking of early power, Syndra eats the double CC and is nowhere near her turret with only 150 health. The auto attacks are coming through, and Maokai gets first blood.
There we go. A beautiful repeat gank, just Immediately walk past through lane, go take your Raptors, and then walk straight back once your cooldowns are up, knowing there's no flash in. Well set up by Frozen, landing that stun just straight up and then walling him back off. So not a whole lot Syndra can do there. Kind of dead regardless of what happens in that situation. So we'll see if they can continue punishing the Syndras. Maokai's still in the area, but I expect him just to go for his red buff, but instead he's peeking in the jungle a bit. Might look for something, but there is nothing there from the Fiddlesticks. Already taking that full topside. Maokai's spending a lot of time just chilling here, hoping Syndra's going to push out.
Yeah, he's looking around. He might find it beneficial to go to his top side, but maybe not. Maybe getting this vision, being in the top side, confirming that Fiddlesticks is in the bot side at least, and looking for the counter gank. Damage coming onto the Anivia, but the counter gank comes through.
Oh, good
Syndra
fear.
eating a little bit, but Anivia just not in position to follow up on that CC as both junglers decide to disengage.
Good play by this Fiddlesticks, just making sure he can push out this wave with Syndra so they can get the reset, knowing without Flash, it's very difficult for her to actually push that wave all the way out, so
yeah, but
good backup
Syndra
by the Fiddlesticks.
doesn't want the reset. Syndra just teleported here to the lane, so now she's sitting back at her turret, not doing anything.
To each their own,
Some people play it differently. Maybe Syndra could have recalled, bought another crystal, sapphire crystal, perhaps a pink ward.
Yeah, maybe the wave was just in a frozen. We didn't really see the wave stay. It could have just been frozen up there. And
that is very true. And you do want to break those freezes because Anivia having a freeze can be a very nasty snowball into her level 6 indeed. Syndra just will never have any more control over the wave and will always be relegated to either catching waves or giving up turret plates to make roams happen.
Yeah, as looks like Anivia might finally be taking that first base here. As we take a look up at this top lane, and no kills have gone down yet. There's a bit of a CS lead opening up here. Already 12 in the lead for African Rhino, but based off how the other two games are going, I think you take that. As now Frozen's looking for something.
Oh, catches the stun after he catches a good full channel ultimate, looking for the E to finish off, and he will find it! Oh, man. Very close, but Anivia knew she had the passive, so not as close as it may seem.
Very well played by Frozen, knowing the limits and the amount of the damage that he can actually put out there with the last bit of mana, last bit of health he had left. He's able to get that solo kill and really propel himself into a really good spot here in mid lane. Now 20 CS up and a kill, and Sid has a huge XP lead now after Syndra misses all of that wave. So really good spot for this, Anivia here in mid lane. And overall, just we take a look around the map. Pretty even in bot side, basically 1 CS apart. Top lane, as we said, is opening up to almost a 20 CS lead up here in top lane, but it's not dying. So you kind of want to take those after what happened the rest of the series, and it's pretty even in the jungle as well. As now Frozen just continuing to pressure this Syndra, not able to do anything, just walks up.
Feels so bad as a mid laner. You just get back to lane and already you have to recall, or else next trade you're dead. You can't even walk in Anivia's ultimate range because she has the ult, she has the wall. If you get anywhere close and slowed, she's just gonna walk you down and kill you.
And she still has flash as well, so she could just flash on you, drop the ult, and then just hit you with the E, and you're probably dead just from that. But just in case you're not, there's still the wall and the Q to follow up as well. So Fiddlesticks is probably going to have to come try and save him with something. Just hit 6. So he might be looking to protect him here, but shows himself, I believe. And now he's actually getting chunked. Some fight broke up out in the top lane.
Yeah. Fight breaks out in the top lane, but doesn't lead anywhere. Definitely from the beginning of the fight knew that it didn't look like either top laner would kill each other. Just one of those fights where they're trying to make a point. I'm the big guy farming the wave. You get away from my wave and you farm after me. And either are at a risk of dying, so everyone's just left wondering, what are you doing?
It's all about taking turns when you're eating,
Very true.
You let that guy eat first, and then you eat afterwards. You don't want any trouble here.
I think that it's a respect thing, and I just don't understand top lane culture. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so we look at Fiddlesticks trying to sneak his way into bot lane. Once these minions go down, should be able to freely walk into turret or into turret into the bush here.
Looking to get the lane gank, but both of his laners are pushing up. Oh, but he's gonna find it as Stang tries to go in. Stang, not realizing that he's even there, gets killed by Prometheus.
And that was so weird. Even if Fiddlesticks wasn't there, Nasashi was running the opposite direction. He was just walking into a 1v2. And I think even if Fiddlesticks was there, he's going to go down. But Fiddlesticks securing that first successful kill on the board for himself. As trying to get himself in a good spot. As we can see, Rhino finally forced coin flip out of the lane and is starting to take some turret plates as well. So finally able to start building that lead even without the kills.
Yeah, we have been saying, he's not getting that kills, but the lead really comes through on those turret plates. They're, correct me if I'm wrong, 175 gold each. Yep. So he's got more than one kill just off of getting those 2 plates.
Yeah,
not
and
to
then
mention the 20 CS.
Yeah, which that's also what is the average now in top lane? It's like 19 CS or something. Average 19, on CS. Yeah, that's another 400 gold lead from just creeps as well. So he should be in a pretty comfortable position, already completing those Merc treads just to try and shrug off any of this early damage, which is definitely a good idea with someone like this Aatrox, that you're really trying to drain tank and sustain any damage that they put out. Just a little bit of extra resistance can just give you enough time to kind of ignore all of their damage.
Yeah, and what physical damage are you going to take until you start interacting with their AD carry? And normally top laners never touch AD carries until 20 minutes into the game, so you resist everyone that could possibly roam on you with one boot. Stun comes through, flashes are burned, ultimate comes down, ult comes out, the Beepster picks it up!
And well played by Prometheus. Just landing that, I think there's a max rage Q on the ignited target there, and they just immediately followed up on it as now Syndra has to immediately flash.
Burns her flash out of fear. The Anivia just too big of a lane bully this game, and she hasn't even finished her Rod of Ages.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a struggle here for the Syndra, and that's one of the issues of falling behind early on against the Anivia. It's just they just end up doing whatever they want. As we might get a fight in top lane here.
Death Realm comes out as the Darken fights the Master of Metal. Ultimates are popped. He gets some stats back. The Q comes out. The damage comes out. It's so close. The flash is burned. And Rhino comes up with the kill. Oh, what a close fight.
Oh, that was so close. That flash Q3 there. If Coin Flip would have had just a couple more seconds to get another Q charge up, maybe he could have taken that, but there's a good flash by Rhino, just securing that kill as well. And he healed enough that made it so Witch wasn't even able to walk up there and trade the kill back. So it's just a free kill handed over there as he's really starting to build that CS lead. And now Fiddlesticks looking for another play in bot lane. Aphelios has no flash, but it isn't able to sneak up into bushes close enough here with the wave kind of sitting in the middle of the lane.
Yeah, but Brand is easily able to get that harass off. You saw him spread the fire, and you see, more damage coming out. So, Fiddlesticks can't sit here forever, but they could look for another opportunity. Decide not to pursue it. Fiddlesticks saying, hey, my top side's coming up. I'm going to start bot and then clear top side and see if I can help out my top laner. So we'll see what comes of that. Another trade coming out of the top lane, though. Might be more than a trade. Nope, just backing off, taking away a little over half his health, making that point. You farm after I do. Point taken, respect earned.
Yep, and besides the gold lead, this is a 2-level lead as well here, so it's really starting to struggle here in this top lane. But with how well the rest of the map, it's kind of going well in the mid lane, but in the bot lane not going too well either. So that was kind of their stable point, was the bot lane for the Waffles in the rest of the series. And without having that, we'll have to see how well they can scale this Aphelios into the lane. Or into the late game, rather. Notably,
I think this Anivia is having a bigger impact earlier than the other mid lane picks we've seen have. The Victor didn't make that large of an impact early. But a fight's breaking out, and a Beepster is dead before he has a chance to move.
Bit unfortunate that the Maokai did end up getting that kill, but he's just going to immediately drop Herald, hard shove this wave, and just try and funnel some plate money into this Aphelios, but they have to be careful for the Fiddlesticks.
They don't know about the Fiddlesticks. They get vision on him, so his ult doesn't fear, and now Fiddlesticks looks like he's caught out. Prometheus fires off all the abilities on Brand. Huge damage coming out. His passive burns, but it's not quite enough. Maokai will take over the Fiddlesticks as Prometheus has to back off on the Brand. More fire coming out, more fire spreading, but none of the members of Waffles are in danger of burning to a crisp yet.
And I couldn't see in that fight if Aphelios actually got in range of the turret to get some of that turret plate, or if that all went to Maokai, because that's 2 kills over to Maokai, and if he didn't got all the turret plates as well, that's really unfortunate for this Aphelios. But the Maokai is going to be, well off into this game, just looking to just start the second dragon of the game as well. And with 3 kills on this Maokai already, is in a really good spot to just harass with these saplings plus the ult to provide so much zone control and poke before fights to make it really hard for the Eagles to try and get in there.
Yeah. Black Cleaver as a first item, interesting. It did receive a buff this patch. It is a much better item. I don't play Aatrox at all, so I can only say that it seems to give stats that he would want.
Yeah. The other thing to note is Eclipse got tagged pretty hard in this patch as well, where you lost the Omnivamp. It's now just straight lifesteal instead, and Eclipse was one of a typical first item on Aatrox. But without it being Omnivamp now, I'm not sure how I believe it would make it so it doesn't interact with his Qs anymore, so it's going to be a lot less lifesteal for him. So maybe that's just the read here, is Eclipse isn't as good as it used to be, and Black Cleaver got kind of a stat redistribution that he likes more, so just deciding that could be the play to go forward here.
Yeah. Definitely a good guess. I would agree with it. I would say that Eclipse is probably not the item you want to build on Aatrox anymore. Assuming that Lifesteal only procs on his auto attacks, he's only ever really, auto attacking a couple times for his passive or just chase down autos. Most of the other time, he's just hitting his abilities like a Riven, maybe weaving autos in between. So yeah, the Black Cleaver going to be very effective at assisting him with that because, he'll hit the ability and then he'll hit the auto and then your armor is pretty much gone. And Aatrox, doesn't have a whole lot of passive armor penetration in his kit, but he does have pretty high flat damages. So when you give him that armor shred or armor penetration, he starts to hurt a lot more than you would expect.
Yeah, because we're actually looking for a play up here in top lane, but he just dashes over that Anivia wall. The Maokai ult fell short as well, so good pressure absorption from Rhino, getting 3 people's time up in top lane, and nothing comes of it. So we'll see if Fiddlesticks can find anything on the other side of the map here.
Oh, looks like a fight might break out. Nasashi getting a little close to Senna, but nothing comes of it. Just dancing back and forth. This Visionary really liking these lane ganks. Coming in, trying to get this vision, knows where he's at, know that his bot lane can easily get the shove, and, he can get himself a really advantageous position. But, Syndra taking a pretty disadvantageous position, eating a lot of damage from the Anivia. Not looking good in those trades.
Yeah, it's a really big struggle. However, it hasn't gotten too much worse than what it was previously. There's still the 20 CS lead for the Anivia, but it's not really gotten too far out of control. But it can definitely soon if something happens with Fiddlesticks.
The ultimate channeled. Seraphine is feared. Seraphine is silenced, and Seraphine is dead. So much damage comes out of the Brand. Look at those bounces. A beautiful kill from Prometheus.
And once again, Prometheus snipes Aphelios with that stun, which keeps him locked up just enough for Fiddlesticks to actually get in range, along with the ult from Brand to come through. So, well played once again by him.
Coming out from Aatrox as the fight starts up. Ultimates are popped. They're in the death realm. African Rhino trying to find all the damage, and he will, as Death Coin Flip falls in his own realm.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there once again in this top lane, but during that whole thing, they get 2 towers in mid lane for the play in bot lane and top lane. So, at least trading those 2 towers back in mid lane to give a lot of control over to Waffles. And, they've been in the position before where they're 1,000 gold down against the Eagles and find plays to come back in the game. So we'll just have to see with the Aphelios kind of not being strong like he was in previous matchups. But Habib is getting caught out.
The Beepster walks a little bit too far into vision, flashes away. He is ignited, going to be taking a lot of burn, but it won't be enough to put him down.
And that was just super unfortunate with Maokai with his, Lee Sin kick of a Q. Knocks him out of the Seraphine double Q, which probably would have been enough damage to secure the kill, so. A bit unlucky there, but nonetheless, getting a flash out from the super squishy immobile support, definitely an easy target to go after in any sort of upcoming fights.
Yeah, and Habib has been caught out quite frequently getting vision in these games. He's sometimes the first one on his team to be engaged on and die when he's playing these backline supports that really shouldn't be checking these bushes without someone to walk in front of them. So would like to see an adaptation from him and how he's playing, not being the first to check these vision. He knows he needs to clear vision, but grab one of your team members, have them come with you. Otherwise, you're just an easy pick.
Yeah, I think the only problem is now the Aatrox is rotating down here to fight for this third dragon, but without Aatrox, no one actually can walk up into vision here. You can see how much damage these saplings are doing just early on, throwing them into any bush you find, not denying any sort of flank angle from full HP from these Eagles, and that might just be enough poke that even without coin flip here, he does have the ignite, but the Brand ult.
So much damage comes out from the Brand. 2 passives proc off, Seraphine's below half health, Maokai's below half health, and the Dragon is upset. Waffles are stuck in a choice of do they continue the Dragon or do they back off, and by the looks of it, they're backing off.
Yeah, they got split up there as well on the retreat, so Seraphine wasn't able to heal as much because that heal is based off of how many people actually get hit by the shield. So if they would have all grouped together, that heal could have been about twice as strong as it was, and maybe they could have looked for a turn there, but Senna was able to keep everyone pretty healthy from all of that poke from the Maokai, so able to just walk in without Mordekaiser ever committing to come down. But now Habibster's got to be...
Habib is stuck. He takes a lot of damage. He gets stunned. Anivia flashes the Mastery as he knows Habibster is dead, and Senna will fall. Again, walking in areas, probably felt that he was very safe. Can't really discredit him too much for this one. Saw his teammate had just recalled. He's returning to the mid lane where he thinks he's good, but Anivia just in the right place at the right time. What just happened?
I think he might have thought that he saw Nasashi clearing a ward, and maybe he thought Nasashi was going to continue walking forward to put a ward down in that bush behind Raptors, but unfortunately for him, Nasashi just decides to take that blast cone over the wall instead. So, it looks a little foolish by Visionary, but I can see what he was going for at least there.
Yeah, you know what? Definitely a good idea. Very respectable. And, with the only objective up being Baron, and you might not think that Waffles probably has that good of a Baron threat right now, you can make those plays. You can take a little bit of a risk. Oh, but speaking of risks, Aatrox caught out here, getting CC'd up by the Anivia stun, by the Maokai root, but they just don't quite have enough damages. A lot of damage is being returned on the Maokai. Anivia tries to turn around and make sure that he's okay. Gonna be getting with the slows, but the flash comes out of Aatrox, leaves him 1 HP. He looks at the Anivia. Anivia is fleeing because she's feared, she's silenced, and she's taking a lot of damage. She turns around and tries to kill the Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks taking a lot of damage from Anivia, walled into the zone. Oh my gosh, all of them are dead. They tried. They thought they had a good position. Aatrox, thinking he had the damage, brings Maokai to super low health, Anivia to super low health, but isn't able to find the resets, isn't able to find the kills, and now Aphelios is fighting Syndra. Syndra pops the ultimate, as does Aphelios. They're both really low, and both of them are trying to hit each other, but both of them feel the need to disengage a little bit. At least Syndra does, and she walks away with her life. Oh my. Fights across the map.
A little bit of a split focus there by the Eagles. They were running down Maokai. He was almost dead. They decided to change focus on to the Anivia, but they weren't able to actually finish that off. And then by the time Mordekaiser shows up, there was enough of a front line in front of them to kind of peel the rest of the Aatrox off from the rest of the team, and they just had no damage after that point. So I think they just needed to focus on one target and kind of take the kills that they could, but got a little greedy trying to get all of it. Were unfortunately punished for it by a good rotation from the Waffles. So, well played by them as they might actually get collapsed on here. Got to be a bit careful, but should just be able to walk this one out as both teams just trying to make sure they have some sort of vision on this Baron so it doesn't get snuck from them at this 22-minute mark.
Yeah, Baron, definitely the next objective that both teams seem to be looking at. Dragon's up in 2 minutes, but neither seem very excited about the Mountain Soul. Waffles, it only puts them at soul point. Mountain's not the strongest of dragons, so looks like they're doing a little bit more focus on the Baron, thinking that the next thing they want to do is bust open the base of Eagles, because they're trying to end this game before any catastrophe happens with a massive Fiddlesticks Brandol. Because no matter how far behind the Eagles are, one good Fiddlesticks and Brand combination in a team fight can just wipe the Waffles.
Yeah, definitely. As Brand does now have 2 completed items. He kind of has that core items. Do you think does he go for the Rylai's this game, or do you think he just goes straight for more damage with a death cap type of build first?
I think that Rylai's would just be okay because it helps you out and it makes sure that you can get the chase down, you can finish people off, and it helps a lot of your team assist and chase down and land their damage, right? But if you're the only member of your team that's ahead, Fiddlesticks isn't pumping out a lot of damage right now. Syndra isn't pumping out a lot of damage right now. Senna hasn't hit her damage spikes. I would prefer to see Rylai's as a later item, maybe like a 5th or last item. And right now, I would honestly like to either see a Void Staff if you see them start itemizing MR, or just a Death Cap for more damage. Brand with ratios and his passive scaling up that percent max health when you've hit 3 abilities, that will destroy tanks when you have a Death Cap. It is quite a bit of damage.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit cheating here, but I did see chat pop up, and Prometheus originally bought Rylai's and then changed it to Demonic. So he at least decided correctly not to go for that second item, but might still try and get that third item here. But looks like we're going to have an all-out brawl here for this 4th dragon, as Aatrox gets a little bit chunked out here, and that Sentinel already has to be used.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out from both teams, but it doesn't look like either of them are getting the engage to actually finish off any members, and they're still dancing around the dragon. Looks like they do want this mountain soul, or at least to be at soul point if you're the Waffles, and deny the soul point if you're Eagles. We will see if they continue to commit over this, though. Habibster is able to keep, people healthy, but he's running a little bit low on mana. The more you spam that heal, you won't have any summoners left, or not summoners, but abilities left for the team fight.
Yeah, and you see that Anivio, he walked just out of range and kind of lost that zone control. But it's important to note that Coinflip was the one who got chunked on Waffles, but he still had TP, so he just went back to base, came back at full HP here. Trying to leverage that.
And Anivia gets stunned with the Fiddlesticks, causing her to fear. Oh my gosh, she's in the egg form, and she's taking a lot of damage all over her group up on top of the Brand ult. The passive goes off once. The passive goes off twice. Brand's getting a lot of damage, but it might not be enough as the Waffles are trying to find the damage onto the enemy team. Eagles have Aatrox still alive in the front line. Brand has done so much damage, but he's still alive, and now Aatrox is on the chase down. There's no more health left for the Waffles, no more frontliners. Nisashi's almost out of hit points, and he will fall to the Aatrox as well. Only 1 member surviving from the Waffles, but only 2 surviving on the Eagles. What a close fight. So hectic, and Eagles come out on top.
And you saw how much damage there in the backline. The Maokai just kind of went in there and took out the entirety of the backline between his ult and his saplings with his AP ratios, but actually Aphelios might fancy this 1v1 here to contest onto this dragon.
He thinks it's a 1v1, but Brand has 1 hit point, throwing out his abilities at max range. A teleport coming in from the Eagles as he gets the shutdown onto the Aatrox. Syndra looks for the stun, won't be able to find it, looks for the follow-up, and does barely find it at the end of her range.
Oh, that was so close to turning out disastrously for the Eagles, but Syndra barely able to find that kill, and Brand barely was staying out of range. He decided it's better to not contribute damage than to walk into range and die to Aphelios, so...
Yeah, that 700 gold to Aphelios would be very catastrophic at this point.
Yeah, but we'll see if Frozen can position just a bit better. He was the only person who got hit by that Fiddlesticks ult, so you would think, oh, that's pretty good outcome. But just because he's so much of the zone control to peel for this Aphelios from this fed Aatrox, I think he really needs to try to have a little bit better position so he's at least able to offer some assistance instead of going straight into egg and force the team to try and fight around him for that Brand just to get the extra AoE bounces that he can get when everyone has to be stacked up to protect the egg.
Exactly. I was just about to go on that tangent. When Anivia does go into the egg form, all the members have to stand on her or else she's just going to get isolated and killed. Everyone knows to focus the egg, right? She can't do anything. She can't move. Well, when you're all standing near it to try and protect her, and a fight breaks out. Maokai tries to go in and get a kill on the Syndra. Syndra not able to move at all before Anivia picks her up. Maokai loses most of his hit points, but it's definitely worthwhile. Baron's up, and now Eagles don't have a mid laner.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can actually continue this pick. They force Rhino out. They don't have the best... Oh, actually, Aphelios is in bot lane, so they're definitely not going to be threatening this. So they're still posturing, maybe looking for an out-of-position person, but without Aphelios, not a lot of threat, but now Fiddlesticks might be caught.
Fiddlesticks is the out-of-position person, but Brand comes in huge. Brand gets locked up. Mordekaiser looking for the ultimate, finds it onto the Fiddlesticks after Fiddlesticks kills the Maokai. Fiddlesticks won't have much to get away, and Habibster falls to the Anivia. Very hard to get away from it. Fiddlesticks buys a little bit more time with the stopwatch, but his team just does not have the position to follow up. Brand gets out a little bit of damage that he can, but nothing really coming here except for death for the Eagles as Anivia walks forward, tries to find it, looks at the Brand, is going to get the stun. A lot of damage coming out. He gets pulled back, and he gets shut down by the Mordekaiser. Aatrox is looking to see if he can get anything in return. Anivia has a lot of hit points and has the shield. Syndra ults a full health Aphelios. Aatrox back to his fight. He's got a lot of hit points left and he's getting a lot of damage out. He kills the Seraphine, gets a reset, has full stack conquer. He's trying to buy some more time for his abilities and get onto the Anivia, but it's just not enough. She's so powerful and good at stopping Aatrox at doing anything, but damage coming from the Syndra. Maybe if she had her ultimate now, she could finish the Anivia, but not enough coming through. And that will be the end of that chaotic fight.
And all of that was done without Aphelios even there. He was just AFK pushing waves down in bot lane. He got another turret for them, put some pressure on that inhibitor, which is why Syndra went down there instead of to the Aatrox when that fight was going out and that 1v3. But it all started with a flash engage from this Maokai with doing so much damage. Now has a Morellonomicon, 3 AP items completed already. Does a ton of damage between those saplings and just the ult from long range without committing to anything. And can be super devastating to these squishy mages like the Brand and Syndra.
Yeah, but notably, he's only got hit points and no resistances. And Brand is very good at removing your hit points, especially when you stack them. So we have seen Brand find some success, but it just hasn't been enough to propel his team far enough ahead to dominantly win these team fights. As Habibster gets caught out, 2 ultimates burn to put him into the grave, and he will find them. Another ultimate coming from Maokai, but they don't decide to chase the Syndra into her own jungle.
And you see there, Syndra actually ulted the Maokai, but just with that amount of HP that he's built up between all of his items, enough to live. And I don't know if we can click on the Syndra here to try and get a tracker on those splinters, see how close she is to actually completing, and she has 112.
112 is a good amount. She's almost done. But a fight is breaking out as Anivia goes very deep to try and find the Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks buys a little bit of time with the stopwatch, but it's not enough. Mordekaiser comes up with the kill. Aatrox trying to get a return kill, but it turns out that Syndra got too close to everyone in the team fight, and Syndra's already dead. Mordekaiser falls down. Prometheus is on the backside with Brand trying to get as much burn damage as he can. He manages to burn the tree to the ground and into ashes, and Aatrox comes through, sees the backline of Aphelios, and is like, ah, you're mine. But he's not able to reach him at this point because Anivia has pulled up wall in his direction, and he is just walking away back to his turret, wishing he could get more kills, but without the speed, without the ultimate, he's not going to find the chase down. The Beebster's not going to be able to chase anyone down, and Anivia's just clearing these waves before they can do anything.
Why does Aphelios have a hull breaker?
I don't know.
I am so confused right now. That's not typically who you want to be, split pushing in the side lane, but I guess they've decided that they think Aphelios can just push sideways, and they don't need him to show up with the team. It's kind of what he's been doing in these last fights, but now Aatrox is looking for something.
It's been interesting, but he does find something on the Seraphine. Seraphine falls to the Fiddlesticks, and Anivia, she's too far forward now. She doesn't have any support. She can't get away. She can peel herself a little bit, but not against 3 members. She goes into the egg form and has it again, but it's just going to get quickly burned down as they put all that gold on the Fiddlesticks.
And that's just a huge overextension by Waffles, especially with Dragon is up right now. That's going to put Eagles on soul point and give them a 3rd stacked Mountain Dragon, which is just going to be so much extra resistances. We'll see if Maokai can actually try and sneak in for a steal or something, but Aphelios, once again, just splitting in the opposite lane. And I think they're going to have to give this up, but they are posturing like they're going to do something about it.
Aatrox using his, lead to zone them off, taking the 2v1, feels pretty comfortable in it, but might not be comfortable enough. Mordekaiser does damage. He hurts a lot now. He's got that DPS over time. Maokai not too tanky against the Senna, going to fall. Mordekaiser gonna come through, almost has enough. Oh, but the Senna ultimate comes through and finishes him off.
Well, you see,
Aatrox.
Aphelios actually forced Syndra back and is now trying really hard to get this inhibitor, but he's just gonna die for a couple auto attacks. I'm not sure the thought process there by Stank, but I'm not sure about the thought process of the item either, so...
He maybe thought that, if he could at least get the inhibitor, maybe thought he'd be a little bit tankier, could space out and get enough damage onto the inhibitor, that would be worth his life. Or perhaps he thought, if I try and run at this point, I'm dead anyway, so let's get what damage we can.
Now they're just going to lose Baron here. I don't think Frozen can actually stop them here with how much damage Brand and Syndra can do to this Baron, and the Fiddlesticks just tanks it forever. think this is going to be
Anivia-
free Baron unless they can steal it.
Oh, nope. Fiddlesticks got the Baron Nashor. Nisashi used his Seraphine ultimate to try and assist in the steal, but it wasn't enough. Aatrox seeing if he can get the chase down, not able to find it, but they're not recalling after this Baron. You know, we see most teams reset. I don't know if that's the appropriate call here. You've already got a wave. You know that one of their members is dead already. You could just be getting this mid lane turret while you still have a lot of the Baron timer to do so against Anivia. Sieging against her without Baron buff is super difficult, so I do want to see them make the most of what time they have with it.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to take this delayed reset here, spend some of that money. Let's see if Syndra doesn't quite have the money to complete that death cap, but Brand did go for that Rylai's third item. So it's going to offer a bit more crowd control in terms of slows, as the Aatrox picks up his fourth item as well. And the Aatrox is almost full build, and oh, Fiddlesticks.
Oh, Maokai gets caught out. He is feared to half health. He can't do much. Fiddlesticks is pushed away, but it's not enough to save Maokai when Aatrox is on the behind.
And you can see there's like kind of the disadvantage of this Maokai pick. If you don't have the luxury, I mean, I think full tank Maokai there dies either way, but you don't have the luxury to try and face check some of these bushes because you just die instantly. You kind of want to play from range with your saplings, with your ult, and never actually commit to things as this like full AP Maokai until you absolutely have to. But they're still sticking with this Aphelios AFKs in the side wave with this Hull Breaker, hoping Anivia can stall with these between her ult and wall. We'll see if they can.
I don't really like this Aphelios in the side lane because it's almost what Syndra wants, but a fight breaks out. Fiddlesticks is tanking turret aggro, getting a lot of damage off. He pops his Anyas to try and trade, see if someone else will tank the aggro, but he's still tanking it. Anivia walls him and tries to get a lot of damage down, but Brand is able to pick up the kill. Brand now tanking turret, but the turret won't be alive for long. Aatrox is on the front side of the fight trying to keep Anivia away as he can from his team.
They might just push for the end here. Syndra has TP, she can join.
Syndra basing, probably waiting to see if she can finish her death cap, thinking it's not going to come out. Oh, she teleports and finishes the death cap. 120 stacks, death cap Syndra. Has a little bit of power, but Aphelios comes through, gets a lot of damage out of the team, but Syndra finds the Anivia. Syndra also going to die, but all of the members of the Eagles are super low, and Aphelios is huge. Damage coming through as people are crawling away with hundreds and 200s of health. It was so close, but they don't end up taking anything more than the inhibitor.
Aphelios was so close to cleaning them all up, flashing at the end, just trying to get a little bit closer, but the immediate fear into that glacial augment, plus this root, he just wasn't able to find enough range to get that last couple auto attacks off. And man, if he had blue gun there, he would have wiped all of them, but just very, very close. I thought they were going to look for the end, and I wasn't sure how Waffles were going to stop it, but I guess hero play coming out from the Aphelios there is the answer they needed, as they get one more chance on life here.
Yeah, you can question his build, but don't question those plays. He's got it, brother.
All right, we'll see. You know, with this dragon coming up in a minute, this will be Soul 4 Eagles. Like, we saw how much damage Aphelios was doing, even with this Hull Breaker. Obviously, you're not getting that impact when you're with your team, but like, I think you need to be here to contest this Soul. I don't think you can give this Mountain Soul over.
Soul Dragons are definitely one of those buffs that, because they're permanent and because they're so strong, you pretty much have to contest them. Like, even if it's like, well, if we die here, we lose the game, it's, you know, you pretty much lose the game if you don't get this dragon as well. I don't know the percentage, but Riot released a statistic at some point saying that the team with not Elder Soul, but Dragon Soul wins like 65 to 70% of the time.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be a rough one if they give this Mountain Soul over. I mean, you could see when they were fighting without the Aphelios how hard it was for Syndra just to push things through, but actually Khabib is caught.
Speaking of fights, Senna is caught out by Mordekaiser, but Mordekaiser walks into the entire team. A lot of damage is coming down. Fiddlesticks ult comes through and gets a fear onto the Anivia. Anivia's already in Ed form, but Senna falls to the Mordekaiser. Anivia will die to the Aatrox as Aatrox cleans up another. No, dies to the Brand Burn on the Mord. But it looks like they're in a good position. Aatrox burns his ult, tries to chase down the Seraphine. Seraphine takes the blast cone away, but it might not be enough to let her escape. Aatrox looking for it, gets rooted. Won't be able to find much more than that. Aphelios on a little bit low health, eats, but oh, he's got the Immortal Shield Bow. That's the item. So he manages to take the inhibitor. Prometheus comes back on the Brand, says, hey, I'll help you out, Syndra. I'll do a little bit extra damage. But Syndra will fall as Aphelios pops the ultimate and just kills her.
And now they were trying to send Aatrox back to maybe help But once he sees Aphelios has backed off, he decides to go back to the Dragon to try and help Visionary secure this.
Fight breaking out. Seraphine also comes through as Red Team steals the Mountain Drake. Maokai just gets just close enough for the smite.
He didn't even smite. That was just a sapling.
Oh my gosh, the sapling steal. Seraphine pays for it with her life, as does Maokai, but that's a pretty big steal. Now both teams are at soul point.
Yeah, that is huge, actually getting that steal. I'm not sure if Visionary was just a little too focused on getting the pick with his ult that maybe he walked out of smite range as well, but neither jungler looked like they smote there, so I think it was just a sapling plus the burn maybe from the Leandries and Demonic that actually secured that dragon.
You know, you're teaching me new vocab words. Smote. So if you were to have, I guess it would be smoted someone in the past, or would you still use smited?
I think it's we're speaking the English language, so everything's interchangeable, but
so we should say smut, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay. Well,
neither jungler was interested in the smut.
Yeah, neither jungler interested in the smut of that dragon there. But they are the butt of our jokes, so.
Alright, then Baron is up, and Eagles are just going to straight start it. They have a ton of damage with this brand on it, with his passive. We'll see maybe Wichita can find another miracle steal.
Yeah, Baron already down to under half hit points. Flashes in and steals the Baron! He got it! You called it! The caster curse is not alive today! He pays for it with his life, but it doesn't matter. Aphelios is already on the backside. Aatrox is in the back line trying to get the kills. Senna ultimate comes through as Fiddlestick's ultimate is also trying to come through and get the damage down. They're finding a lot of damage on this backline. Anivia already falls. Seraphine falls. The Mordekaiser is the last one alive in the death realm trying to beat this Fiddlesticks to death. The Scarecrow will die, but he will get the scares off before he does. The fear leads into Mordekaiser's death as Syndra is the only one defending this empty base from Aphelios with Hullbreaker. What an end to the game. It doesn't look like either one are going to back off. Aphelios is hitting the turrets. He gets stunned up under turret. Ulted by Syndra. He doesn't have that much left. He has lifesteal though. He's trying to get enough hit points as Bran catches the stun to shut him down. One more Q to say not now. They leave Senna as the only one pushing and catch the inhibitor, but because so many members had to recall, Aphelios did save the game there.
Yeah, I don't think they could have ended either way because you saw Aphelios had all the waves pushed into the enemy team, so they had no waves left. And when everyone committing to having to stop Aphelios, they just didn't have anyone left. Senna all by herself can definitely not tank and kill that Nexus turret. A save there from Aphelios. I think he's saving them from his own decision making. But it's a save nonetheless. As all three inhibitors are down and an open Nexus. So it's going to be really hard for Eagles to actually leave their base to try and get this soul in 2 minutes because Aphelios has shown he's just going to stay in that lane, and with double super minions, not one person can stay there to actually match him with that Hullbreaker. So it's going to have multiple people trying to match him, and it might just be a free soul over to Waffles because of it.
And if they can't kill him quickly and they allow him to get too close to the base, he still does a lot of damage to objectives. He might just try and rush down the Nexus. He has the flash, so he can try and buy that distance. Yeah, with Spirit Visage and the Bloodthirster, he's got so much lifesteal that it's really hard to defeat him in the 1v1.
Yeah, I don't think Syndra's would have to poke him down over multiple combos, but as long as there's a minion wave in between those combos, he should just be able to heal right back up. Exactly. And I don't think Aatrox has any chance of fighting him. So
yeah,
we'll have to see how they want to play it out. Looks like so far they're just going to barrel down mid lane as there's really nothing else to do for the next minute. Try and push in these waves and see if they can just brute force their way, or if they'll just play it slow and wait for this soul to try and hopefully secure that one.
Yeah, notably though, with the double supers, the Eagles are getting a lot of farm. Root comes out onto the Anivia, not anything going to follow from it though. Waffles are positioning like they want to try and run it down mid and in the game.
Yeah, and that's a flash off of the Senna as well. And it's really hard for, once they get into the base, for the Fiddlesticks to find any sort of angle. So they really have to do well to keep them outside of the base so Fiddlesticks can at least channel that ult. But with everything being pushed forward, it looks like Waffles have a pretty free time just to back up off this pressure and go secure it as the top lane inhibitor finally respawns. So this will be the last wave of double super minions by Aatrox.
Well, Aatrox has to burn his flash to escape that. Almost got caught out there. That would have been most definitely the end of the game if he were to die. Fiddlesticks going with the surprise ultimate, doesn't get the fear, but he is in the middle of 3 people. Pops the Zanyas and gets a lot of damage down. Mordekaiser waiting to take somebody to the death realm. Decides that the person going to the death realm will be, I actually can't tell. He kills Fiddlesticks, it was him all along. All the damage coming down and all the members of Eagles are falling. They're scattered throughout the team, but it doesn't look like any of them are going to be able to stop the Aphelios from ending the game. And it looks like Waffles will come up with the 2-1 victory.
What is League of Legends? I don't understand. How do you... I don't know how Aphelios with Hullbreaker Spirit Message wins this game, but, you know, apparently it's just the tech. You know, we
can
never
question
knew.
the build, but don't question the plays, Unicorn. He's got the plays and he ended the game.
Yeah. And those 2 early, like, picks that force flashes out of Senna and Aatrox, I think we're just super big there. It chunks the Aatrox really low as well. And then it's kind of all on Brand to do all that damage by himself. But Brand needs help killing this Aphelios. And maybe Brand can kill everyone else, but he's not going to do enough damage to blow through this Aphelios. So with everyone else being chunked and already out of position with burning flashes, just unfortunate last fight there for the Eagles as they lose that game in a 2-1 fashion.
And with that, I think we will be sent to intermission, if not the end of the stream. I'm not exactly...
That will be the end of the stream. That was, in fact, the last game of our best of 3. Unfortunately, it's not quite best of 5s yet, so we can't get more of those bangers. But hopefully, you know, next week we'll get another set of bangers from 2 new teams. And I hope all of you guys join us then. But for now, we are out.